And what we realized was that it's not just about life insurance. People don't wake up every morning thinking about like, how do I buy life insurance? But when you become a parent, really everything changes for you. You start to think about financial products and legal services that you've never even had to consider before. So life insurance is one of them, but getting a last will and testament put together is another. And then you really do have to start thinking more seriously about your finances and how they map with your partners.
Welcome to the Tearsheet Podcast. I'm Zach Miller. Having a kid encourages a lot of families to start thinking differently about their finances. Sure, life insurance is part of that discussion, but so is creating a will and getting your financial info secured in one place. Adam Erlebacher is co-founder and CEO of Fabric, which provides sort of this organic experience around getting a new family's finances in order, centered around life insurance. Adam joins us on the podcast to talk about his own personal experience with life insurance and how that inspired what Fabric is building. Adam was formerly COO at Simple, an early digital bank, and we discuss how that experience influences the way he's looking at fintech and digital finance. Adam Erlebacher is my guest today on the Tearsheet Podcast.
Al here at MX. I wanted to let you know about Digital Banking Week, the online event of the year, and it's totally free. You'll get access to more than 20 industry-leading speakers like Dan Ariely, Jim Maroos, and Theodore Lau. Register at digitalbankingweek.com. You don't want to miss this.
My name is Adam Erlebacher, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Fabric, which is a modern life insurance provider that offers a one-stop shop for family financial protection.
So before we jump into Fabric, Adam, I want to hear more about your background. You have a lot of experience in fintech. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got here?
Yeah, so I started my career at JP Morgan doing leverage finance. So I do have some like quote unquote like real financial services banking experience, legacy experience. And after that, I worked in a number of startups. One was an early AI company called Colloquist that built these bots that you could have conversations with on services like AOL Instant Messenger. If you remember that, we built a bot called Smarter Child that was chatting with 12 million people. Many folks fondly remember chatting with Smarter Child back in the day. It
was like chatbots before they were called chatbots, right?
Yeah. It was an early chatbot company, and we had these very popular kind of media properties that folks were chatting with. But really, the main business was providing conversational customer service, and we had clients like Comcast and Time Warner and Vonage and AT&T were using our products for customer service purposes. We ended up selling that company to Microsoft, and then I went to business school. And while I was there, I started a company called Placevine, which is an online marketplace for product placement and sponsorship deals that we ended up selling in a few years to a digital ad agency. And then after that, I got introduced to Josh and Shamir at Simple, the co-founders at Simple, and I was just really, really excited about the mission of that company, which is to make banking worry-free. And that was back in 2009, so sort of in the depths of the financial crisis. And there was just a huge opportunity that we saw to reinvent personal banking and bring a truly modern experience to the public.
Have we made banking really safe?
Safe is a different sort of question. I think we have made banking a much better, much more human experience than it used to be before you had sort of the offline world and an online world that pretty much was straight up broken. And I think Simple helped usher in the age of modern banking where you have a lot of today you've got some really exciting companies that are challenging the status quo and further pushing the incumbent banks to make changes. But I think you have seen the incumbent banks really respond in many ways and bring a more modern approach to I think the public's benefit. So I worked on Simple for over 4 years. I was the chief operating officer there. We built that company up to a few hundred employees, about 500,000 customers. It was sold to BBVA back in 2014, and Simple remains sort of an independent subsidiary of BBVA, still based in Portland, Oregon.
And where did the idea for Fabric come? Did it start sort of while you were at BBVA? What happened in between BBVA and today?
Yeah, so I'm from New York, born in the Bronx, raised in New York City, and in New Jersey, where I had most of my childhood and grew up and went to high school. But uh, the reason that we started Fabric is it really was where I was in my life, and I had no intention of actually starting a company in the life insurance industry. But after I moved back from Portland to New York, we got an apartment. My son had just turned 2 years old, and I went to go buy life insurance, and I was just really shocked at how arcane and odd the process was. It took me 3 separate meetings with an insurance agent, 10 weeks overall from first meeting to get covered. I had to get a health exam, and the insurance agent was upselling me the whole time to buy whole life insurance, which is a much more expensive version of life insurance coverage. And just to give you a sense of it, the $50,000 in coverage policy that he offered was about the same monthly premium as $1 million term life coverage. And that just didn't make much sense to me. And, I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine, who I worked with very closely at Simple, Stephen Certinier. And Stephen ran the data engineering team there, and he was going through a very similar situation. He had just become a dad and was going to buy life insurance and kind of hit that same wall. And so through those conversations, we ended up deciding to start Fabric. And what we realized was that it's not just about life insurance. People don't wake up every morning thinking about, like, how do I buy life insurance? But when you become a parent, really everything changes for you. You start to think about financial products and legal services that you've never even had to consider before. So life insurance is one of them, but getting a last will and testament put together is another. And then you really do have to start thinking more seriously about your finances and how they map with your partners, and start thinking about retirement and investing in a more deep way. And so Fabric really is this one-stop shop for family financial protection, where yes, we can get you up to $1 million in life insurance coverage, in many cases without a health exam, and more with one. But we also provide a free last will and testament. And then we also provide some really cool free services that help organize your family's finances. So one of them being Fabric Vault, which allows you to create a list of your financial account information and share that information securely and easily with a spouse or partner. And so, you can think of the checking account information and your savings account, retirement accounts like your 401k from 3 jobs ago and your IRAs. And all that information is probably sitting somewhere, or maybe not even sitting somewhere on a piece of paper. And we just wanted to make it really easy for you to share that information. And then we also built out a bunch of content that helps educate folks on all these questions, because they've never really had to think about that before.
Dal at MX again on Digital Banking Week. The banking industry is changing fast, and in order to keep up with the change, you need to stay on top of the latest news and trends. Whether it's open banking, AI, or how to compete in a hyper-competitive landscape, Digital Banking Week has content to help you stay ahead. Not only will you get access to the top minds in the industry, there will be dozens of content downloads to help you lead your organization as you create the future of banking. Not by computer? No problem. Set a reminder to check out digitalbankingweek.com because you can't miss this.
So I want to ask you, Adam, about the sort of the workflow component. I think that differentiates you guys from some of the other insurtech entrepreneurs we've had on the show, where it's not just about insurance, about sort of everything going into the planning, the what if planning. How important is that for the end consumer to approach, I guess, life insurance through this sort of holistic approach, I guess?
Yeah, we do believe that what we're hearing from consumers is that you're when you think about life insurance as a product category, it's not a high consideration product. People are not waking up and thinking about it. It's not what they're planning their day around. And what we've done instead is we've taken a bit more of an orthogonal approach by offering these services that they need and know that they need, and that provide real value, like a will. And it may be something that what we hear from our customers is that they have plans to do it. They have plans to make will, but they never quite do it because it requires visits with an attorney. It requires a lot of kind of scheduling to make that happen. And so through Fabric Wills, we allow them to create it in just a few minutes. And then sort of more importantly, they are able to invite all of the important people in their family and in their sort of trusted world to Fabric Will, so that everyone knows where everything is all in one place. And so we're really creating this digital map of the family. So your executor, your alternate executor, your guardians, the guardians of your kid, the alternate guardians of your kid, beneficiaries, trusted contacts like your financial advisors, your attorney, and friends, so that they're all on the same platform. And that's just a way for us to build trust and deliver real value to our audience, without just saying, buy life insurance, buy life insurance, buy life insurance, which is not necessarily the message that people want to hear every moment.
And do you find that there is a life cycle, I guess, approach to somebody that comes in using sort of the planning tools before, and then them being gently introduced to life insurance product?
Yes, absolutely. But on the flip side, because we've been able to make life insurance really a modern purchase, meaning, you're able to come in, answer a few questions, and then in a moment get, be able to buy life insurance and have an electronic policy. That's something that you can do in just a few minutes. And so we are seeing people who are just visiting us for the very first time and are buying, $1 million policy. And then maybe later on they discover the Wills product or Fabric Vault. And you can get Fabric Wills or Fabric Vault without buying life insurance. And it's a free service. So we sort of let people choose their own adventure, as it were. We do find it's a good combination, but the Wills product is really a core part of how we distribute our life insurance.
And how are you acquiring new customers? Like, what kind of channels or what kind of techniques are you using to bring in new customers?
Yeah, so we've we do invest in the usual suspect digital channels, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, etc. But really, the bulk of our focus and our strategy really is on this product-driven distribution, where we've created these free digital products that are easily accessible, easy to find, easy to use, and then through that process deliver real value and build trust with our audience, and then and over time, up to them whether or not they want to convert to the paid products. But we found that it's an effective tool.
I'm curious, this is a little bit of a personal question, but it sounds like Fabric, because it germinated from a personal need and a personal experience. If you had to look back, like, is there something about the insurance business that I guess you would have approached differently, knowing what you know now?
I would say that in many ways, the insurance industry is much. I won't say it's easier than retail banking, but in a way, it's
That's stunning. What does that mean?
Well, obviously, insurance is regulated in a different way than retail banking. Retail banking is typically most of the regulation is coming from the national level, and insurance has some national, but primarily it is regulated on a state-by-state basis. So every single state has its own Department of Insurance. And so what that means, if you are a startup or really anyone who wants to sell a policy in a state, you need to have a producer, an agent who is licensed. You need to have an agency that is licensed. The product that you sell needs to be licensed. The carrier that you're working with obviously needs to be licensed and set up as a chartered insurance company. And in some cases, you also need a third-party administrator license. And so that is a heavier lift and you have to do that in 51 jurisdictions.
Wow.
That in a way is a heavier lift than working with a bank that has a national charter where you don't have to go through that state-by-state process. But what I was referring to earlier is that the insurance business is a little bit maybe sleepier in the sense that it's very, very stable. It has to be. It's been designed to be that way, and that's the way it should be. But as a result, I think the people who get involved in the insurance business tend to be, I won't say laid back, but they have a different worldview perhaps than than the banking world, where the industry has really shifted to fee income to generate its profits, and those fees are generally concentrated among 10% of the banking population. And so you have a bit more of an adversarial relationship, I think, in the banking industry than you do generally in the insurance world, where generally if you're buying a life insurance product, it is a good purchase. Buying term life insurance is a good idea if you have a family. There are situations where, maybe if you have a family, you don't need life insurance, but that's typically if you're independently wealthy, and not a lot of us are in that situation. So that's what I'm referring to when I'm talking about the sort of the divide between the insurance world and the banking world.
As you were saying that, I mean, this is kind of an aside, but insurance seems to me like such an interesting purchase because I'm buying it with the intention that I really never have to use it. And I know I heard a apocryphal stat once that like 50% or close to 50% of wills are never actually signed or executed. Like somebody went through all the time and energy and cost of actually doing that process, but then at the last moment, like couldn't get over the finish line. It's like how do you handle that from a marketing, product and sales perspective, like to help people who are, I guess, challenged by this process, or maybe they're not challenged. I don't know.
Yeah. No, they are challenged. And I think that's the product failure, right? Like people who go through all the trouble of deciding on what they want in their will and then never printing out and signing it is a product failure. Whether that's in the offline world where you're working with an attorney or in an online world. And so I think it's really up to product designers and companies to figure out, well, how do I find some practical ways to make this experience actually provide value, not just sort of theater value to users. And there are a few ways that we do that.
How so?
Well, one of the main ways is that through this sort of this digital network of the family that you're creating through Fabric Wills, in a way, we're creating a network of nudgers where everyone in that family is able to provide the kind of social pressure to get that will signed and executed. And you find that in all different modes of your life, and it should also be there in the digital life, in particular when it comes to getting these important things done, and not necessarily just around liking a friend's post or favoriting or whatever. So I think that there's we have a lot of great tools as product designers that we can bring to bear on these digital journeys, and we should be thoughtful on how to apply them, but also make sure that we're effective in delivering the value that customers deserve, and not just what they think they've come to do and then not actually done.
I guess, can you take us a little deeper on that process of product development, product discovery, about how Fabric, sort of identified failings maybe in the current system, and how you go about approaching creating a better experience for users?
Yeah. Well, in my sort of offline life, when I went to go get a will, it took me like a year to actually get the thing signed. And a lot of that was just procrastination. And so, we want to make our products procrastination free, and then also provide those sort of guidelines to make sure that people are, they stay in their lane to get that thing done. So another example would be, we're actually having witnesses get invited to the will. And the witnesses are then there to do a job, and that job is to witness that will.
You create all this accountability and nudges within the product. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's right.
What about going forward? We're getting to the end of our interview now, but like, what are you prioritizing? What are you focused on for the end of 2019 in terms of product marketing? What's high on your list?
Right. So we are a modern life insurance provider that is providing a one-stop shop for family financial protection. And what that means is, we are responsible for the full stack of that life insurance journey, from bringing them through the application to electronic signature to the algorithmic underwriting process. And then if someone requires health exam or more work, we've built that whole stack of tools that allow us to do that. And then we administer the policies as well. What we don't do is we don't take on balance sheet risk. On the one-stop shop side, yes, today we provide that free last will and testament and the free fabric vault. But ahead for us are all those other products that families and new parents really need to think about when they hit that milestone in their lives. So we'll be investing in those new products and rolling them out over time. I don't have any specific announcements to make now, but that's what is on our roadmap and what we think about. And we really want to be that place where all new parents can come to start their family's financial life.
It's such a great life cycle event, I guess, to get people to start planning for the future. You guys do a good job, I think, of addressing that head on and using that as sort of the impetus to get the ball rolling.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially when we have like you said, it's a product that we kind of drag our feet on in terms of procrastination.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of work still to do, but it's a really, really exciting and important problem, and our team we're jazzed to figure it out.
Awesome, Adam. Thanks for joining us on the Tearsheet Podcast today.
Thanks, Zach.